Welcome back to another edition of Why It Works. I'm Joelle Martinek here in Los Angeles from Ginger Soul Photography. I hope you are having a great day. Today we are looking at actually one of my favorite maternity images that I have ever taken. Um, so we're going to dive right in. First thing we're going to take a look at is obviously we do not see Mama's face or even her head. Um, so before I was a photographer, I had printed out some of our wedding images and had them on our walls. And when I looked around, I was like, oh my gosh, like most of them didn't have our full face. They were our heads were cropped off or like partially cropped off. And I realized in that moment, sort of like looking back at them, that like I really love images that are sort of like faceless or anonymous. Yeah, so anyway, some people think it's a little bit odd, but I actually love it a lot. So if you shoot with me, you are definitely going to get some faceless, headless photos. Let's take a look at the very first thing. So we're going to look at the horizon line, right? So obviously the horizon line cuts here at a very neutral point. We're not cutting, like into her belly. We're not cutting, the horizon gives us enough space, both here in the top of the frame and then also in the bottom of the frame. I didn't say that very eloquently, but there we go. I do love that we sort of see, the shape in the horizon as well. It's not a straight horizon. It's obviously a mountain behind her. And a couple of things that I love are sort of like this little peak here sort of really complements like the shape of her elbow there, right? As this dips down here, it also dips with her elbow there. And while we're looking at shapes, I love a triangle, right? So here's a really good little triangle of space there while I'm shooting with mamas who are expecting or people who are expecting. One thing I say to them is to make sure that, we don't squeeze our arms together, that you actually want to have a little bit of space in there. So that's the first thing, right? And then obviously there is all of this negative space up here to let all of that breathe. And then I love the little bit of texture that these little plants down here offer, right? Just at the bottom of the frame. I'm glad that they don't come up all the way through the mountains, right? So that, we just get this sort of like sharper, more textured bit. We get the smoother bit, right? The sharper, more textured. We get the smoother bit here, and then we get the negative space up here. So it just feels very pleasing to me. Um, and when I'm doing maternity sessions, mamas can be as clothed or as unclothed as they want to be. This mama was very comfortable, just, sort of bearing all the things. So, I took advantage of that. Right. I love, the lowness of her underwear right here gives us a real beautiful sense of her belly. And then I just had her sort of like pop this knee, her left knee, right on our right side of the frame, her left knee, just cross it over a little bit so that there was no space. Even though we don't see her knee at all, right? What it does is it just sort of changes the shape of like what's happening all right here, right? Um, Love the deep V here of the bra that she's wearing. Love that the bra has a little bit of texture in, this top part of the space that has not a lot of texture in it. So it really adds that, just again, that little bit of feeling here. Um, One thing, I'll always point out my flaws too. One thing I wish I would have done would be straighten out her ring right here. I made sure the other ones were straight and I didn't notice that one. But there's that. And I just think, this is a real celebration of, moms and the incredible things our bodies do. And I absolutely really love this image. I love it in color too, but there's something very just like tranquil about the black and white version of it. I made it a little bit of like I've added a little bit of grain to the post-processing part of it, right? So grain is just, I don't know if we like go in here, right? So grain is just that little bit of texture in there. You know, lots of times you want a very smooth image, but sometimes I like to make it a little bit grittier and a little bit of grain, add a little bit of grain there. And I think, you know, the shapes and all sorts of shapes, right? Both the shape of her body and the shapes that are created within the frame and the texture are the reasons why I think this image works. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave me comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. And with that, go out and have a great day.